Can I give you something that's gave us freedom? Okay,
Please.
I think that freedom is the thing that's the most important. We owned a 14,000 square foot church building that had been built in the 1980s and had not had any deferred maintenance taken care of. But we had one church, a very fundamentalist Bible church, who had a lot of money and said, we'd like to buy your church. And so we had a congregational meeting and talked about it. And so having that money gave us the opportunity, divesting ourselves of the building, and having the money gave us opportunity to move, to regroup, to kind of lick our wounds, as it were, and try to see who we were going to be. And we did a lot of soul searching about what was our goals, what was our mission. We brought somebody in and did planning and moved to a space that is the bottom part of a medical building, which is surrounded on 3 sides by glass. We have 2,400 square feet. We bought new chairs. We brought in what we could keep from our old setting and sold most of what was left. We no longer look like a church, but we have church inside of our building.
And we have one of the greatest after-service luncheons that I think any church can put on.
I think a lot of them were not necessarily conscious decisions as much as decisions that sort of evolved among us, that we weren't going to be tied to any one strict form of worship, for instance, or doing it the same way we've always done it before. The congregation is very open to trying new things, and the attitude is that we will try this, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. If it does, then we know that we're on the right track. And so those are things, not being afraid to try to do something different.
And I started going to First Church because I was looking for a church, and I happened to be singing with a choir that was using that facility. And so I decided that I would try out the service, and immediately liked it, and immediately started singing in the choir. So that kept me there. So I enjoyed just the feel when I walked in the door, that I was very, very comfortable and very much that I was home.
And I started going there because of Becky. I had met her and she invited me, and I'd been looking for a church through a lot of struggles that I'd had, personal. And she'd invited me to go to the church, and I was reluctant. And then the next week I decided to go, and I've went for 1.5 years every Sunday since. And I felt like it was my second home as soon as I sat down in the pew.
I think the important decisions partly has been looking at our leadership model and working to improve that and find ways to improve the leadership model and communication. We had a moderator, and I think single moderators get really cooked and burned out. We now have 4 moderators, a quad mod. We became immigrant welcoming. We have a mission statement. I think these were decisions the congregation really was active in helping to shape the mission statement. It was quite a long process. To start to get the congregation outside its doors, I think that's a challenge. And so some of the ministry that we've been doing, like the immigration clinic, sandwiches for homeless folks, the new I Have a Dream closet, boutique, all those things have really been ways, I think, and decisions the congregation says we're opening our doors, we're opening our hearts, and we're opening our minds.
I think a big decision in helping that renewed energy was that when we lost our past full-time pastor retired, we decided to make the right choice and take the time, bring in the interim pastor, and work on what exactly we wanted and we wanted to see and what we wanted the church to do to go forward. I think it definitely gave us a chance to look at where we were going, what we wanted, and not just jump at the first thing because we didn't have one.
One of the signs that I've noticed is we reviewed our bylaws. And in that process, instead of working the bylaws as something to strive towards, we changed the bylaws into something that reflected what we were doing. And so we are aligning ourselves organizationally as well as actually.
Since I'm newer to the church, I don't have a lot of the perspective that people who have been there longer, but from what I understand to what I see myself is that this church has come over the period of the last 5 or 6 years from a time of some inner struggle and some conflict to really coming together to work together as a church to be very transparent with each other and very collaborative with one another. And so what I've seen over the last couple of years since I've been there is that sense of collaboration and that sense of oneness and welcome, and also a very strong sense of ownership that we all have a part to play in the church and that there's something here for all of us to do. And
I feel, I remember there was a cabinet meeting that we had, and during that cabinet meeting, we decided that instead of focusing on physical growth, that we would change that direction to spiritual growth. And so the focus, an actual decision was made in the cabinet to focus on spiritual growth over physical growth.
I think that another decision that has been made along the way, and its decision points, is whenever we get to a place where there's something that, even if it's been a tradition, something that we've always done it this way, well, is there anybody who really still wants to do it? Is there anybody volunteering to do it? Is it still really worth doing? Or are we hanging on to something that really nobody's interested in? Is it time to let that go and move on to something else? And so that's a decision that comes up over the course of time, and it's an interesting thing to see, but for the most part, even older people in the church recognize the value of letting go of something like that may not be of value at this point in time, and turning that energy and attention to other things that are of value and of interest to the congregation, or to within the congregation to do for the community, and in missions and in other places as well.